Hello, I hope you're doing great. Today we are going to talk about FairPlayTube Blazor Web Assembly portion. As you may know, FairPlayTube is the next generation of video sharing portals focused on users and transparency. And it is implemented using Blazor WebAssembly .NET 5 and Microsoft Azure. We also have plans to migrate it to .NET 6 and then to enable cross-platform applications using MAUI Blazor when .NET 6 is officially released. Now, before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and also please share the videos and like them, and invite more people to subscribe to the channel. Let's start. So this is the main Visual Studio solution for FairPlayTube, and you can check it on my Github repository that it is on the video description. Okay, so this is the FairPlayTube.client project, right? And this is the Blazor Web Assembly application. Let's go to the program.cs file, and you will see that um, it is not a big deal, but it has some additional configuration, right? And you will find, for example, that we have the assembly name here hard-coded. This is because we were getting some errors trying to get the assembly name using reflection in the Blazor Web Assembly portion or in Blazor Web Assembly. Okay. Now, so we use this to create the names for the HTTP clients that are going to be accessed later on to be able to do the HTTP client request to the API. Okay. Now here we create the HTTP clients. Here we add it to the scope for the dependency injection. And here we configure the MSAL authentication. And this is basically the configuration for Azure Active Directory business to consumer in our Blazor WebAssembly application. Now you see that I have some specialization here. We add this add account principal factory, and this is because we created a small principal factory or some small code to inject the roles claims in our Blazor client. So you will see that we have this custom account claims principal, and when the user is created and the user is authenticated, we now go to the server and we get the role that user has, and we set the roles into the user claims in our Blazor WebAssembly application. Okay. The other thing is we are using Azure Q&A bot, so we add the configuration in there. Now you will see that we have all of these services, right? This could be actually scoped, and as far as I remember, scope and transient are pretty much the same on Blazor applications, on Blazor WebAssembly at least. Uh, so we inject the HTTP client service, we inject the Toastify service, the video client service, the user profile client service. Actually, I just noticed that the Toastify service is 2 times in there. That has to be removed. We inject the visitor tracking client service. This is a service that handles the visits for generating analytics. And this is the user client service, and the rest is just running the application, right? Now, the other thing that you will find in here is that, of course, we have a main layout, right? In the main layout, we added a couple of things. You see that in here we are showing if the user is authorized, we are showing the notification hub component, and we have it in the main page because the rest of the pages will actually redirect inside the body inside here, but the actual browser won't request any new, won't reload the whole page. So the notification hub will always be in there, right? And we don't want to reload that part. Now we are configuring this is like a model that will allow you to show the Azure bot that we have for users, um, to use them, like to ask questions, how to use the system and things like that, right? Currently, the knowledge base supporting this Q&A bot does not have like a lot of questions. Just have a couple of things, right? But we will show it in a second, right? This is just a model, right? Using some of the Bootstrap model classes, right? We show here the bot. This is the URL, right? And then the buttons, right? So then the other thing that we will have is the main page. And in the main page, you will see that what we have is actually the visitor tracking component. If we go to that component, oh, that component is should be in here. Actually, let me no. That component is actually in the custom components in here. So that visitor tracking, basically what it has is it has no HTML because it doesn't render anything, but it has an HTTP request to one of our endpoints. So you will see that, of course, we inject the navigation manager, we inject the Toastify service to show errors in case there is an error during the HTTP request. We inject the visitor tracking client service, and we inject or yeah, we set the cascading parameter, which is going to be the authentication state task, right? And this is to check if the user is authenticated and get the user information, right? You will see, for example, in the uninitialize async, basically what we are doing is the visited tracking model. We are going to set the visited URL to the URL in the navigation manager that we injected, right? Then we get the state of the authentication, and if the user is authenticated, we know that we can get the Azure Active Directory Business to Consumer object ID, and we assign it to the model. Otherwise, we do nothing, and we send that model to the API. You see, otherwise we show an exception is if an exception occurs, it will be caught, and it will use the Toastify service to display the error notification, and you will see a Toast notification on the screen. Now, when you go to the track visit, this method, basically what it does is, well, you know that this class is visitor tracking client service. It's under the client services, and the client services is the project that has all of the HTTP requests to the API. Basically, the Blazor application should not do any direct calls, and we want to do everything through the client services, because when we implement the MAUI Blazor application, we are going to reutilize the client services, which has most of the logic. And because there is a lot of logic in the Blazor Web Assembly application that we may not be able to use directly. Um, so here the track visit basically gets an anonymous client, right? The anonymous client can actually publish, right? So it publishes to that API. All of the routes should actually be set up using a constant. So you see that we have some constant classes, uh, hierarchy of classes containing constants for the endpoints. And they will be in the mode of API routes dot controller name dot um, endpoint name or method name, right? We send the model and then we get the response. If the response is not successful, we check if there is a problem response, right? If we can get it, we throw new exception showing the detail, and with otherwise we throw new exceptions showing the reason phrase. Now in here we are not doing the toast service because this project should be independent from the UI. It should only handle HTTP requests to the server, to the API. So let's go back to the index page. So it has the visitor tracking. That visitor tracking, basically what it does is when anyone loads that page, it will send an HTTP request to the server with the information of that request, like the IP address, the request URL, and the user information if the user is logged in, and then it will insert that into a table named visitor tracking, and there we will have the information for later generating the analytics. Now we also have the loading component, which is to show the spinners, indicating that some data is being loaded at that moment, right? Now we show, well, we render the information for the page, right? We render a title, we rendered some card for like the description. This is actually an accordion that you can collapse. Yeah, something that you can collapse. And we also have like the PayPal button in there, right? Then we also have another section, which is the video list component, and the video list component is actually in the components project. Under the videos, you will find the video list, and this is um, a component that shows all of the videos in a grid, right? For small devices, it shows one row. For big devices, it shows a maximum of 3 rows, right? This shows all of the videos with some information like the duration, right? Allows you to select the video, um, and has some components for, you will see that there is like an eye to see the insights. There is some $sign to see the monetization link, right? And the icons will be there. There are some rules, for example, in order to show if the price is higher than 0, it will show you if the price for a video is higher than 0, it will show you the cart or the shopping cart icon. If there are available jobs for that video, you will see a button in there with a briefcase icon, right? Now we have here some logic to show the thumbnails, and when you click on the thumbnail, it will then uh, show you the video. Now, if the show insights is shown up or it's true, you will see a pop-up showing. If you are in a desktop, you will see the video on the left side, and on the right side you will see the insights where you can see things like the labels, the keywords, the people on the videos, the thumbnails, and the keyframes, the key scenes. Okay, So if you click if you click the button to the monetization link, this is all of the logic that will be executed. Now this component should actually not execute any data. In this case, only one exception we are having is to get the video access token, because we are reutilizing this component for showing the videos for the login user, and they will be able to edit them. So they need to generate an access token for that. What else? So those are the components, and then you will have the other pages like the profile page. This is the monetization page. We have the object graph data annotation validator, and that is um, we are using object graph data annotation validator because that allows you to validate complex types, right? So if you were to have like a complex type which has like a lot of um, properties, compound properties hierarchy, uh, you will need to use the object graph annotations validator, right? Then validation summary, and we have just a um, normal screen. This is a date form. This is bound to the onValid submit. Uh, well, this is a valid submit method, and it is bound to the global monetization model that is created in here, right? Then you have things like the fonts. The fonts uses the PayPal checkout component, and the videos. We have details that we are actually working on that. This is just kind of a placeholder. This is the keywords, right? That is to search by keywords, and it shows the videos. This is, you see, this is actually reutilizing the component, and the only thing that changes is the data that is passed to the video list component. My pending videos status, this is to check the status of the videos. My videos, this is to check um, to see the user on videos, and you see that the data is the thing that changes, right? If you want to see the code for all that, we are purposely avoiding having a lot of codes in the .razor page, and instead we are having all that in the .razor.cs page, right? And the routes of the um, pages are actually in here. You will usually see that in Razor pages or in Blazor pages, you will have a page and the route in here, right? But honestly, I do not like to do that, and I rather to have all of that, the route and the authorization, in the .cs file because it actually looks cleaner. And the main logic is also in here, right? We inject the video client service, the Toastify service, right? The navigation manager, and we get the data. So you see, get my processed videos, right? Using the video client service. If an error happened, we use the Toastify, and yeah, when everything finishes, we send this loading to false, so the um, loading component or the spinners disappear. We have here the upload form, right? And yeah, we have some services, right? This is the Toastify service, which is basically a an abstraction or a wrapper to invoke the display success notification and display error notification is JavaScript scripts, which are in here in the JS folder notifications. So these are the scripts, and basically that service is to avoid doing the or manually writing the JS call a lot of times. So we just use the service with methods that invoke the JS, and we keep using C# forgetting about that. What else we have in here? That's pretty much the client side project. That will be everything for now. Thank you very much and have a great day.